Bible says in chapter 20, 1 Samuel, beginning in verse 1, David fled from Naioth in Ramah, and came to Jonathan and asked, "What have I done? What did I do wrong? How have I sinned against your father so that he wants to take my life?" Jonathan said to him, "No, you won't die. Listen, my father doesn't do anything, great or small, without telling me. So why would he hide this matter from me? This can't be true." But David said, "Your father certainly knows that you have come to look favorably on me. He has said, 'Jonathan must not know of this, or else he'll be grieved.' David also swore, 'As surely as the Lord lives, and as you yourself live, there is but a step between me and death.'" Just one step between me and death. Well, for the past few Sundays, we've been talking about living like you're dying. And I believe that King David was a man who understood that attitude toward life. If you want to see a picture of a man who totally failed, just take a look at the guy who preceded David on the throne of Israel, a man by the name of King Saul. Now, we know at this juncture in his life, David had been selected to be the next king of Israel, and yet Saul at this particular time was still reigning. And this guy Saul started out so well. He was tall, he was dark, he was handsome. He looked every bit the part of a leader. He looked presidential, if you will. He looked kingly, but he didn't finish so well. He started out well, but he didn't finish so well, and he wound up being jealous of this young man by the name of David, and in his demented rage, he tried more than one time to kill David. He was literally, this man Saul, out of control and out of bounds. That's why David meets with Jonathan, Saul's son, and he said, "Hey, Jonathan, we're good, close friends. In fact, you're my best friend in life. And you know that your dad is after me. He's trying to do me in. And because of that, there's only one step between me and death." Did you know that's true for all of us? There's one step between us and death. Because this is what David was saying. David was saying, the next step that I take could be my last. And that's true for you, and it's also true for me. We're one step away from death. That's how fragile life really is. And I believe David was in effect saying, I'm living like I'm dying. I'm living as though I was dying because there's just one step between me and death at this time. Now, David was right about that situation. But if you read the whole story about David in this situation, you'll see that David didn't throw in the towel. He didn't quit. He didn't resign. He didn't back out. He took responsibility. And he did some very notable things as he took responsibility. And it showed the kind of leader that he was. David demonstrates here under the gun good leadership qualities. And if you and I are going to be serious about living like we're dying and living every day to its fullest, and that's the way we should live, then we need to demonstrate some good leadership as well. One of the things that people will remember about us long after we're gone is whether or not we took our responsibility seriously and what kind of leader we were, how we impacted other people. And we all have some kind of leadership role. You may not think you're a leader, but I guarantee you, you're a leader somewhere in some capacity to somebody. So this morning I want us to sit down as leaders with another leader, a man by the name of David, and learn from this man who teaches us so much about taking responsibility in the midst of negative circumstances and really displaying for us and demonstrating for us good leadership qualities. I want you to notice a couple of things. First of all, you demonstrate leadership when you show respect. And David did that. You demonstrate good leadership when you show respect. Now, David grew up as the youngest of 11 sons in his family. Now, in that culture, it was always the oldest son who got all the rights and a double portion of the inheritance and all the glory and all the attention. And David was far removed from that position. He was the last son born. He was number 11 on the list. Now, remember when Samuel the prophet came to Jesse's house, David's father, to anoint the next king of Israel? And he just assumed that Eliab, the oldest son in the family, the oldest of Jesse's boys, number 1 out of the 11, would be the next king of Israel. And he said, God, this has got to be the man. And God said, no, Samuel, this is not the guy. And he said, but he looks so qualified. And he's the eldest son. And God said, he's not the man I'm looking for. And then Samuel said, well, it must be number 2. And he said, nope. He said, well, it must be number 3. And he said, nope. It must be number 4. And God said, nope, 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 nope. All 10 preceding David, God said no every single time to all the sons of Jesse, to all the brothers of King David. And finally, Samuel said, well, this is not going the way I thought it would go. Jesse, have you got any other sons? And Jesse said, well, there is that other kid. Let's see, what's his name, boys? Oh, yeah, that's right, David. David, he's our youngest boy, and he's out in the field tending the flocks. I don't think he's the guy you're looking for. But God spoke to Samuel's heart and said, that's the man. And then God said this to Samuel, man looks on the outward appearance, but God looks on the what? The heart. Man looks on the outward appearance. This looks like a good leader. But God looks at the heart, and God knows those who are going to be great leaders in his kingdom. Now, David was a humble guy. And he was as surprised as anybody when Samuel anointed him as the next king over Israel. And that humility helped him develop some great respect in his life. Tremendous respect. For example, David, I believe, respected his other brothers. When Samuel came down to Jesse's house to anoint the next king of Israel, David didn't come running in with a portfolio and a resume and full-color 8x10 glossy pictures of himself. And he didn't have some kind of an assertive training kind of an attitude and say, I'm the man you're looking for. I can do more for Israel than anybody else, and I'm the guy that you've been looking for. David didn't do that. In fact, David didn't come in at all until he was ushered in and called in by Samuel. He put himself in last place, and he waited for God to promote him. Have you discovered that's always the best way? To put yourself in a humble place and let God do the promoting and let God do the advancing. And God did that in David's life, in his own time and in his own way. Now later on, we see another example of David's great respect for his brothers. His brothers were in the Israeli army. They were in the valley of Elah. And the Bible says they were there and all the Israeli army in a 40-day standoff with a 9-foot giant by the name of Goliath. And David was dispatched to go down and take some snacks to his brothers on the front. Now there again, humility. All of his brothers, all 10 of them, serving in the military. Boy, they are courageous and brave, and they're serving in the Israeli army. And here's David going down, delivering little Debbie's. I mean, that's not exactly an outstanding role. He is very, very humble. But when he arrived on the field, he heard this giant Goliath taunting all the people of Israel and the army of Israel. And he heard this giant defying the God of Israel. And David said, this is not right. Hey, this is not right at all. Have you guys forgotten the God that we serve? Jehovah? Have you forgotten Yahweh? He is bigger and stronger and more powerful than even this puny giant. And David stepped up to the plate when all the soldiers wouldn't do it. And he said, I'll fight this giant. I'll take on this 9-foot Philistine. I will challenge him. I will be the man to take him on. And remember what happened when David said that? King Saul was there, and King Saul said, well, David, if you're going to go out and face the giant, I tell you what, that's noble, but you need to put on my armor. And so Saul took his armor, and he tried to fit it on King David. And I can see David in the dressing room trying to get that armor to fit, and he's trying to pull it up on this side and pull it up down here and trying to get that armor to fit exactly right, but it doesn't fit. And David can barely move because Saul is a tall fellow, and David apparently was kind of a smaller guy in stature, and the armor just didn't fit. But even here, David's respectful. He comes out, and he says, Saul, I can't wear your armor because I have not proven it. That's what the King James says. I have not proven it. What that means is I'm not used to it. It's not comfortable for me. It's not what God's wanting me to wear into the battle. I appreciate it. Thank you for the noble gesture of loaning me the royal armor of the king, but I can't wear it. Have you discovered that sometimes we try to fit our armor on other people? Sometimes when people get saved and they're baptized, and they come into the church or they join our Sunday school class, we try to outfit them with our armor. And we say to them, hey, now that you're saved and now that you're baptized, you need to dress like this. This is what you need to wear, and here's how you need to wear your hair. And they may say, well, why? Well, that's the way I do it, and that's God's way. Well, they may have a whole different attitude, a whole different